हाँ, आज हम लोग अनोवा के बारे में जानेंगे। अनोवा क्या चीज़ होता है? अनोवा एक प्रकार का टेस्ट होता है जो हमारे रिसर्च में अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण होता है। व्हाट इज़ अनोवा? एनालिसिस ऑफ वेरिएंस एंड व्हाट कैन आई यूज़ इट फॉर? तो अगर उसको हम देखेंगे तो वन वे एनालिसिस ऑफ वेरिएंस, जिसे हम अनोवा कहते हैं, टेल्स यू इफ देयर आर एनी स्टैटिस्टिकल डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन द मीन्स ऑफ 3 और मोर इंडिपेंडेंट ग्रुप। इसका मतलब जो हमारे पास जो वेरिएबल्स हैं वो जब ज़्यादा हो जाएंगे, 3 और 4 से ज़्यादा हो जाएंगे वेरिएबल्स, तो हम वहाँ पर अनोवा का टेस्ट यूज़ करते हैं। व्हाट इज़ अ अनोवा? अनोवा क्या चीज़ है? डेवलप्ड बाई रोनाल्ड फिशर। रोनाल्ड फिशर ने डेवलप किया। अनोवा स्टैंड्स फॉर एनालिसिस ऑफ अ वेरिएंस, वन वे एनालिसिस ऑफ अ वेरिएंस tells you if there are any statistical differences between the means of 3 or more independent group. When might you use ANOVA? You might use analysis of a variance as a marker when you want to test a particular hypothesis. You would use the ANOVA to help you understand how your different groups respond with a null hypothesis for the test that the means of the different group are equal. If there is a statistically significant results, then it means the two populations are unequal or different. How can ANOVA help? The one way ANOVA can help you know whether or not there are significant differences between the means of your independent variables, such as the first example, age, sex, income. When you understand how each independent variable's means is different from the others, you can begin to understand which of them has a connections to your dependent variables. Landing page this and begin to learn what is driving the behavior, right? अब जैसा locations, do locations, employment status or education have an effect on a NPS score? Do age, sex or income have an effect on whether someone clicks on a landing pages? One way ANOVA can help you know whether whether or not there are significant differences between the groups of your independent variables, such as India versus Sri Lanka versus Bengal, Bhutan. When testing a locations variables, you may want to test multiple independent variables such as a location, employment status or education. When you understand how the groups within the independent variable differ, such as India versus Sri Lanka versus Bengal or Bhutan, not location, employment status or education, you can begin to understand which of them has connections to your dependent variables, यानी कि NPS score. Do all your locations have the same average NPS score, right? Although you should note that ANOVA will only tell you that the average NPS score across all our locations are the same or are not the same. It does not tell you which location has a significantly higher or lower average NPS score. What is the difference? What is the difference between one way and two way ANOVA test? What is the difference between one way and two way ANOVA test? This is defined by how many independent variables are included in the ANOVA test. One way means the analysis of variables has one way means the analysis of variance has one independent variable. Two way means The test has two independent. Two-way means the test has two independent variables. And examples of this may be the independent variables being a brand of drink, one way, ठीक है, or independent variables of brand of drink and how many calories it has or whether it's a original or diet, right? How does ANOVA work? How does ANOVA work? Like other types of statistical tests, ANOVA compares the means of different groups and shows you if there are many statistical differences between the means. ANOVA is classified as an omnibus test statistics. This means that it cannot tell you which specific groups were statistically significantly different from each other. Only that at least two of the group were. It's important to remember that the main ANOVA research question is whether the sample means are from different populations. There are two assumptions upon which ANOVA rests. First, whatever the technique of data collections, the observation within each sampled populations are normally distributed. Second, the sample population has a common variance. Second, the sample population has a common variance of S2. How to conduct an ANOVA test? Statistics, IQ and ANOVA from Qualtrics can help you run an ANOVA test. When users select one categorical variables with three or more groups and one continuous or a descriptive variable states IQ runs or a one-way ANOVA. Wills F-test and a series of a pairwise post hoc test, games Howell test भी कहते हैं. The one-way ANOVA test for an overall relationship between the two variables, and the pairwise test the possible of groups to see if one group tend to have higher values than the other. User can run an ANOVA test through statistics. The overall test of averages acts as analysis of variance ANOVA. An ANOVA tests the relationship between a categorical and a numerical variable by a testing the difference between two or more means. This test produces a p-value to determine whether the relationship is significant or not. In statistics, take the following steps. Click a variable with 3 plus groups and 1 with number. Second, then click related. You will then get an ANOVA related effect size and a simple, easy to understand summary. Qualtrics, cross tables and ANOVA. You can run ANOVA test through the Qualtrics cross tabs features too. Ensure a banner, any column, variable has 3 plus groups and your stub rows variables number like age or a numeric record like vary statistified is equal to 789. Click overall state test of averages will see a basic ANOVA p-value. What does an ANOVA test reveal? A one-way ANOVA will allow to distinguish that at least two groups were different from each other. Once you begin to understand the difference between the independent variable, you will then be able to see how each behaves with your dependent variables. See landing pages examples above. What are the limitations of ANOVA? What are the limitations of the ANOVA? ANOVA will help you to analysis the difference in it means between two independent variables. It want to tell you which statistical groups were different from each other. If your test returns significant F statistic, this is the value of you get when you run an ANOVA test. You may need to run an ad hoc test like the least significant difference in test to tell you exactly which groups had a difference in means, right? Ranked ANOVA. Ranked ANOVA, when assumptions are violated, the unranked ANOVA may no longer be valid. In that case, states IQ recommends the ranked ANOVA, also called ANOVA on ranks. Stats IQ rank transforms the data, replace values with their rank ordering, and then runs the same ANOVA on the transformed data. The ranked ANOVA is robust to lights and outlights and a non-normally distributed data rank transformation. It is a well-established method or a protecting against assumptions violations, non-parametric method, and is most commonly seen in the difference between the persons and Spearman correlations, rank transformations followed by a Welch F test, similar in effect to the Kruskal-Welch test. That statistics I ranked and unranked ANOVA effect size are calculated using that F value from the F test for equal variance. Additional ANOVA considerations. With smaller sample size, data can still be visually inspect of determine if it is in fact normally distributed. Normally distributed. If it is a unranked t-test, results are still valid even for a small samples. In a practice, this assessments can be difficult to make. So stats IQ recommended ranked t-test by defaults for small samples. With larger sample size are less likely to negatively affect results. Stats IQ uses Tuck's outside fence to define outliers as a points more than their 3 times the interquartile range above the 75th or below to the 25th percentile point. Data like highest level of education completed or a finishing order in a marathon or a unambiguously ordinary though Likert scales like 1 to 7 scale where is very dissatisfied and 7 is very satisfied are a technically ordinary. It is a common practice in a social science to treat them as though they are a continuous. Example with an ranked t-test, right? Thank you so much.